The fastest way to make a catastrophic decision is to ignore the last 100 years of someone else's mistakes. Our culture celebrates the clean slate, the blank page, the first principles thinker who redesigns the world from scratch. By the end of this, you'll understand a much older, more durable framework for thinking. It's a method used by ancient builders and long-term investors to avoid ruin by seeing time as an active force. And the decisions you're making every day are being shaped by an obsession with speed, logic to problems that will echo for a decade. This shallow approach to progress feels powerful. It feels fast, but it builds fragile things. To understand a more robust way, we have to think about a problem that unfolds across centuries. Think about the person who laid the first stone of a cathedral in the year 1200. They knew they would never see the roof. They knew their grandchildren might not see the spires. Their work wasn't for them. It was for a future they could barely conceive of. Every decision they made was a legacy decision. The plans they drew had to be legible to a master builder born 100 years later, who would use different tools and speak a slightly different dialect. The choice of stone had to account for quarries that might run dry in 50 years. They had to find a backup source. The mortar mix had to be documented so future generations could repair it perfectly. The geometry of the arches and buttresses had to distribute the immense weight of a roof that wouldn't exist for generations. The roof pushes down on the walls. The walls transfer that load through the buttresses and into the foundation. That entire system had to be designed to work before it was even built. The first architect was making decisions on behalf of the fifth. This is legacy thinking. It's a memory, written in stone and procedure. And we are suffering from collective amnesia. This mindset seems completely alien to our world of agile sprints and rapid prototyping. It sounds slow. It sounds obsolete. But the same deep principle is silently running underneath our most complex modern systems, and when we ignore it, we invite disaster. There's a principle that captures this perfectly. It comes from the writer G.K. Chesterton, who told a story about a fence. Imagine you come across a fence built across a road. The modern reformer will say, "I see no use for this. Let us clear it away." But the more intelligent reformer will say, "If you don't see the use of it, I certainly won't let you clear it away. Go away and think. Then, when you can come back and tell me that you do see the use of it, I may allow you to destroy it." That fence was likely put there for a reason. You might not see the reason. The reason might even be gone. But until you know with certainty why it was built, tearing it down is an act of pure arrogance. This is the first layer of legacy thinking. It presumes competence in the past. It assumes the people who came before you weren't fools. They faced problems and they built fences. Your job is to understand the problem they were solving before you get rid of their solution. This is about avoiding a specific kind of intellectual hazard. It's second-order ignorance. First-order ignorance is simple. It's not knowing why the fence is there. But second-order ignorance is much more dangerous. It's not knowing that you don't know. This is the mindset of the naive disruptor who confidently breaks things and only discovers their function after the damage is done. Consider a software company that acquires an older competitor. The engineers look at the legacy code. It's messy. It has a clunky, inefficient module that runs a strange report every night at 3 in the morning. It seems pointless. So they streamline it. They delete the module. Everything works fine for a few. The annual audit happens. It turns out that strange, clunky report was the only thing cross-referencing shipping manifests with payment accounts in a specific way that detected a subtle form of embezzlement. It was a fence built by an engineer 15 years ago after the company almost went under from internal fraud. The engineer is long gone. The documentation is buried. But the solution, the institutional memory, was still alive inside that piece of legacy code. The new team, in their drive for clean efficiency, just deleted the company's immune system. So what happened? The company saved 3% on its IT budget and lost 20% of its institutional memory. Legacy systems are often just solutions to problems we've forgotten we have. But this sounds defensive. It sounds like a recipe for stagnation. A way to just avoid mistakes. How can you use this to actively make better, more ambitious decisions? The shift happens when you start to see time as a filter for quality. The Lindy effect suggests that for non-perishable things, ideas, technologies, books, recipes, the longer they've been around, the longer their future life expectancy. A book that has been in print for 100 years is more likely to be in print 100 years from now than a bestseller from last year. It has survived the filter of time. Generations of readers have found it valuable enough to keep it alive. It has proven its resilience. This gives you a powerful tool for making decisions, especially those with what's called asymmetric risk. That's a situation with a limited upside, but a catastrophic downside. Think about your health. You could try a radical new diet promoted by an influencer. The upside is you might lose 10 pounds. The downside is potential long-term damage to your metabolism that science doesn't understand yet. Or you could follow a diet that's been culturally stable for 2,000 years, like the Mediterranean diet. It has been tested by millions of people across centuries. It has a track record of not causing ruin. The Lindy effect suggests you default to the time-tested option when survival is on the line. The same applies to your core financial strategy. A new complex investment product might promise higher returns, but the principles of diversification, low-cost indexing, and living below your means have survived every market crash in history. They are a legacy technology for building wealth. They've been proven to work. They survived the Great Depression, the dot-com bust, and the financial crisis of 2008. The latest crypto scheme has survived a few years. Which one is the fence? Which one is protecting you from a problem you might not even see coming? Take a moment to audit the most important areas of your life. Your career strategy, your key relationships, your core philosophies. Are they built on principles that are Lindy-proof? Or are they built on trendy ideas from the last 18 months? The move fast and break things mantra is great for building an app with no downside. It is a catastrophic life philosophy. It optimizes for novelty over stability. This is the core confusion. We've taken a method that works for low-stakes experimentation and applied it to the very foundations of our lives. But this still leaves a crucial question. If we just rely on the past, how do we ever create anything new? How do we innovate? Legacy thinking has an answer for this. The solution is beautiful, and it was perfected by shipbuilders in Venice 600 years ago. Imagine the Venetian arsenal in the 15th century. For hundreds of years, it was the largest and most efficient industrial complex in Europe. On a single day, it could assemble and launch a fully equipped galley ship. It was a marvel of production. But the arsenal's real genius was in how it managed innovation. They used what we would now call a barbell strategy. A barbell has all the weight at the two extremes, and nothing in the middle. The Venetians applied this to their ships. One end of the barbell was extreme conservatism. This was the hull of the ship. The core design, the dimensions, the type of wood, the method of joinery, these were based on centuries of hard-won knowledge about what survived Adriatic storms. They changed the hull design very slowly, almost religiously. This was the legacy component, the part of the system that had been filtered by time and tragedy. It was Lindy-proof. It was designed to prevent ruin. But the other end of the barbell was extreme, speculative risk-taking. This was everything above the hull. New types of sails to catch the wind better. New arrangements of cannons, new navigational instruments. They tinkered relentlessly with these peripheral systems. They experimented constantly. If a new sail design failed, the ship didn't sink. The robust, conservative hull, the legacy core, got it back to port. The stable foundation made radical experimentation at the edges possible. It was simultaneously an efficient factory and a laboratory for risk. This is the actionable framework for legacy thinking today. For any major domain in your life, separate the core from the periphery. Build a barbell. In your finances, the core is your safety net, your emergency fund, your low-risk investments, your insurance. This part should be boring, conservative, and built on time-tested principles. This is your hull. But this stability allows you to place small, speculative bets with the other part of your capital. You can invest in a friend's risky startup or an experimental new technology. If those bets go to zero, the hull remains intact. You survive. In your career, your core might be a set of durable skills that have been valuable for 50 years. Communication, negotiation, critical thinking. You protect and deepen this core, but at the periphery, you constantly experiment with new tools, new projects, new side hustles. The stable core gives you the confidence to take risks that could lead to a breakthrough. The person who can afford to take the most creative risks isn't the one with nothing to lose. It's the one with a legacy foundation so strong that no single failure can wipe them out. You earn the right to innovate from a bedrock of what works. This requires patience. Or rather, it requires a different kind of ambition. An ambition for durability, not just for speed. This all sounds logical, it feels right, but acting on it is incredibly difficult. We are fighting a powerful cognitive current that pulls us in the opposite direction. Every single day, your brain is being taught to value the new and discard the old. It's a bias called Neomania, the love of the new for its own sake. Your newsfeed is a fire hose of Neomania. It presents what happened 3 hours ago as infinitely more important than what has been true for 300 years. Social media rewards the hot take, the immediate reaction, the opinion on an event that is still unfolding. It shrinks our time horizon down to a single day. Product marketing is built on Neomania, the new phone, the new software update, the new car. Each one promises a revolution, rendering last year's model obsolete. It trains us to see legacy as a pejorative term. It means slow, outdated, and useless. We are conditioned to crave the upgrade, the disruption, the clean break from the past. We forget that the most important technologies in our lives are ancient. The alphabet, the rule of law, the concept of a promise. These are legacy systems. They work. They are the invisible hull that keeps our civilization afloat. Legacy thinking is the conscious act of resisting Neomania. It's a deliberate zoom out. It's the discipline to ask a different set of questions when faced with a problem. Instead of asking, what's the newest, fastest, most disruptive solution? You start by asking, what is the fence here? Who built it? And what problem were they trying to solve? You ask, what is the time-tested Lindy-proof principle that applies to this domain? You start there. You build your foundation on the accumulated wisdom of everyone who tried and failed before you. You treat their experience not as a cage that restricts you, but as a platform that supports you. The past isn't a dead thing to be escaped. It's a vast database of experiments and results. Legacy thinking is simply the skill of reading it correctly. It's about having the humility to learn from a sample size of centuries instead of just the last fiscal quarter. The real innovators aren't the ones who ignore the past. They're the ones who understand it so deeply that they know exactly which part needs to be preserved and which part is ready for a revolution. And this same deep logic of survival and adaptation explains why the oldest parts of a city are often the most resilient to crisis, which is a completely different kind of inheritance.